Listen closely. There is a quiet war happening inside every human being. Not a war with bombs or enemies, but a war with life itself. A subtle tension crawling beneath our ribs, a silent chokehold around our dreams. We don't talk about it, yet we feel it every morning when our eyes open and the world demands we grip harder, chase faster, control more. A whisper in our minds telling us, hold on tighter. If you loosen your grasp, everything will fall apart. And so we obey that whisper. We clutch our ambitions, strangle our plans, cage our emotions, negotiate with the universe as if it owes us certainty in exchange for our suffering. We sprint through life with clenched fists, thinking the tighter we hold reality, the safer we are. But here's the secret life never taught you. You are not losing because you're weak. You are losing because you are gripping too hard. The universe does not reward tension. The universe rewards alignment. Every day you see it, not in scriptures or philosophies, but in your own life. When you force things, they resist you. When you panic, clarity vanishes. When you obsess, opportunities disappear like mist brushed by desperate hands. Have you noticed? Some of your greatest breakthroughs came not when you fought, but when you surrendered, when you stopped chasing and started seeing, when you stopped begging and simply breathed, when you stopped controlling and allowed life for a moment to lead. But nobody taught you how to let go. They taught you to grind, to plan, to dominate, to conquer. They told you life is a battlefield. You must force it to obey. How strange, because look at the universe itself. It does not force galaxies to swirl. They move by harmony. It does not force trees to grow. They rise by surrender to sunlight. It does not force your heart to beat, yet it beats tirelessly, perfectly, without your control. If the universe trusted you enough to give you breath without your permission, why do you trust yourself so little that you suffocate your own life trying to command every moment? Let me ask you something dangerous, something most people avoid. What has your control really given you? Peace, or paranoia, progress, or exhaustion, security, or a never-ending fear of losing what you control? You may not realize it yet, but control has become your cage. You are not holding life. Life is holding you hostage inside your own mind. There is another way, not passive, not weak, but profoundly intelligent. The ancient mystics whispered it to the stars. Modern thinkers buried it under ambition. But the soul remembers it like a forgotten song. Let go, and life rushes towards you, not because surrender is magic, but because surrender opens the door you have been pushing instead of pulling. There is a moment, you've felt it, when life flows, when effort becomes natural, breath becomes calm, ideas appear without struggle, and the world responds to you like a friend instead of a battlefield. That moment is not luck. That moment is alignment. That moment is you remembering your true nature. Not a controller of life, but a partner in its dance. Imagine your mind like a hand. When it clenches, it cannot receive. When it opens, the universe places gifts into it with quiet precision. But letting go feels terrifying, doesn't it? Not because life fails us, but because our fear screams louder than our truth. That voice in your head, the one panicking, gripping, insisting on control. It is not your wisdom. It is the echo of survival instincts, ancient fears, childhood conditioning, societal programming masquerading as responsibility. You don't cling because you're strong. You cling because somewhere along the line someone made you believe that life isn't safe unless you hold every thread. And yet, life kept you alive even before you knew what fear was. Life breathed you before you learned language. Life protected you before you learned fear. Life moved through you before you ever moved. The truth is shocking. Life has always been more loyal to you than your own mind. So here you are, a cosmic phenomenon disguised as a worried human, convinced you must force your path like a warrior fighting an invisible enemy. But the enemy is not life. The enemy is resistance. The battle is not outside. The battle is your refusal to trust the river carrying you. You can paddle, yes. You can guide, yes. But the water was always stronger than your arms and always will be. So imagine this moment right now. Imagine life isn't trying to break you. It's trying to guide you. Imagine every plan that collapsed wasn't a punishment, it was a redirection. Imagine every closed door wasn't rejection, it was a protection. Imagine every delay wasn't failure, it was timing aligning with destiny. You don't need to control the river when you are made of water. The universe is not testing whether you can grip harder. It is waiting for the moment you stop fighting what is already flowing to you. Look back, really look. There were things you once thought you couldn't survive, and yet you did. Moments you believed you lost everything. Yet something better arrived. People you clung to who left, and their absence became your doorway to freedom. You thought life was destroying you, but life was carving you open so more could enter. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is returning to your natural state. A bird does not cling to the sky, it glides on it. A flame does not fight the wind, it dances with it. And you too were born to move with existence, not wrestle against it. Your mind has mastered the art of control. Now it must learn the art of trust. Not blind trust, not passive trust, but intelligent trust that knows if life created galaxies, if it assembled stars, if it birthed worlds, and somehow chose to breathe through you, then perhaps, just perhaps, it knows what it is doing. Do not mistake letting go for losing. Letting go is making space. Space for clarity, space for alignment, space for the future that is already on its way to you, if you would only loosen your grip long enough to receive it. And right now, in this very breath, somewhere inside you a door is cracking open, not outward but inward. A voice quieter than fear, but infinitely older, whispers, you don't need to force life. You need to release the version of you that doesn't trust it. This is not the end. It is the first ripple of awakening, because once you taste the power of surrender, you will never again worship tension as strength. And soon, you will see what happens when you stop fighting the river and begin to float. And in that quiet moment, after the noise inside your head finally stops fighting itself, you begin to notice something you never noticed before. That stillness is not empty. It is alive. It is breathing with you. It feels as if the universe has paused, just long enough to ask you a question you've been running from your entire life. Who are you when there is no audience to perform for? Most people never sit in that silence long enough to hear their own soul speak. They are terrified of it, terrified of discovering that the person they show the world is not the person they really are. Terrified that beneath the masks, beneath the social costumes, beneath the expectations and labels, there lies someone real, someone they no longer remember how to be. We are conditioned to believe that success is measured by applause, by validation, by external recognition. But think about it. If the world suddenly went quiet and no one was watching, would you still do what you do? Would you still chase the same goals? Would you still pretend to be the same person? Or would something inside you finally collapse, not out of weakness, but out of relief? Most people live in a psychological prison built from other people's opinions. They decorate the walls, polish the chains, make the cell look comfortable, and then convince themselves that they're free. They forget the ability to walk out was always there. But walking out requires one thing they fear more than anything: seeing themselves without illusion. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need approval to awaken. You do not need applause to justify your existence. Existence itself is your proof. Your breath is your certificate of worthiness. Your consciousness is the miracle you've been ignoring. When you truly understand this, life stops being a competition and becomes a revelation. The greatest transformations happen in private. Not in front of crowds, not under lights, but in those invisible battles you wrestle within your own thoughts. When you question your beliefs, when you confront your fears, when you tear apart the false identity you once defended as truth, that is your real rebirth. not in a moment of celebration, but in a moment of surrender. We are not here to become a version of ourselves that others approve of. We are here to discover the version of ourselves that we lost while trying to become what the world wanted it. Every human being carries a hidden universe. Dreams never spoken, pain never shared, potential never used. Most people take that universe to the grave, untouched, unexplored. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect circumstances, the perfect mood. But perfection is the lie that keeps your greatness locked away. Life will never hand you a flawless moment. The universe moves in chaos, and within that chaos is where all miracles live. You either choose to step into the unknown or you remain imprisoned by the familiar. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is walking forward while fear whispers behind you. The mind will always invent reasons to delay the journey. What if I fail? What if I look foolish? What if I'm not ready? But have you ever asked the most important question? What if you succeed? What if your voice shakes the world? What if the life you dream of is waiting just on the other side of your hesitation? The first step toward freedom is not action, it is awareness. Awareness that the life you're living is too small for the soul you carry. Awareness that your comfort zone is a slow death disguised as peace. Awareness that your heart keeps whispering more and pretending not to hear it is killing you from the inside. There comes a moment when you can no longer stay who you used to be. Not because someone demanded it, but because your inner truth refuses to be caged any longer. It becomes louder than your doubts, stronger than your fear, more powerful than the world's expectations. That moment, that crack in your identity, is not a breakdown. It is the beginning of awakening. The human spirit is not fragile. It is ferocious. It is made of the same force that births stars, that builds civilizations, that dreams beyond logic. If you were truly as weak as your fears say you are, you would not have survived everything you've survived so far. You are still here. You are still breathing. That is not accident. That is proof of capacity. The universe does not waste breath on mistakes. There is a deeper life waiting for you. Not a life where everything is easy, but a life where you finally feel alive. Where your energy is not spent pretending, but creating. Where your days are not filled with distraction, but purpose. Where you wake up not to impress the world, but to meet the world as your authentic self. Every soul senses this calling, whether they admit it or not. Some follow it, others abandon it. The difference between them is not talent or luck. It is willingness. Willingness to lose who they were in order to become who they truly are. Greatness is not inherited. It is not bestowed. It is forged in the quiet battles the world never sees. It is born from choosing growth over comfort, vision over fear, authenticity over attention. It demands sacrifice. The sacrifice of illusion, of ego, of the false narrative that says, I must be who they expect me to be. You don't need a map for this journey. Maps belong to the known world. You are stepping into the unexplored territory of your own being. And that path is not walked with certainty. It is walked with faith. Faith not in the world, but in yourself, in the silent intelligence within you that has always known the way, even when your mind did not. And yes, you will feel lost at times. You will doubt. You will question. But confusion is a sign of evolution, not failure. When the caterpillar dissolves inside the cocoon, it has no idea what it is becoming. Yet the surrender to transformation is what allows it to soar. Do you understand? You are not breaking, you are dissolving what no longer serves you. The life you dreamed of requires the death of the life you settled for, and that is not tragedy, that is transcendence. There are people who will never understand your journey, not because it is too complicated, but because it is not theirs to understand. You do not need them to see your vision. The universe did not give it to them. It gave it to you. Walk your path not for validation, but for revelation. Every step reveals more of who you are. Every challenge uncovers another layer of strength you didn't know you had. You are not here to fit in. You are here to awaken. You are not here to follow. You are here to remember. The world does not need more copies, it needs more originals. And the most revolutionary act in a world built on conformity is simply to be yourself, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. The moment you stop seeking permission from others, your true life begins. And when that moment arrives, when you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your inner world, once dimmed by doubt and hesitation, starts to ignite, not in a sudden explosion, but in a steady rising flame, like a dawn that refuses to be rushed yet cannot be stopped. You begin to recognize that everything you were searching for outside was quietly waiting within you all along. Strength was never missing. Courage was never absent. Purpose was never lost. They were simply dormant, covered by layers of fear and noise and expectation. People often imagine transformation as lightning, dramatic, instant, overwhelming. But real transformation is a slow-burning fire. It asks for patience, discipline, surrender. It requires you to let go of who you think you should be so you can step into who you truly are. And in that surrender, there is liberation. Not the superficial freedom of doing whatever you want, but the deeper freedom of not needing the world's approval to exist. There is a moment in everyone's journey where the path becomes quiet, where no applause is heard, where no encouragement appears, where you stand alone with your own thoughts as your only companions. This is where most turn back, because solitude feels heavy when you have not yet befriended yourself. But those who continue, those who walk, even when the road gives no answers, discover a truth that changes everything. Solitude is not emptiness. It is space for transformation. You cannot rise while clinging to what was meant to be shed. You cannot awaken while holding tight to dreams that were never truly yours. The version of you that you are becoming cannot be built with the tools of the past, the habits, the beliefs, the patterns, the excuses. They served who you were, not who you are destined to be, so you must release them, like a snake shedding old skin, not out of pain, but out of necessity. Your life does not change the moment you say you want more, it changes the moment you refuse to settle for less. And refusing is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is quiet, it is internal. It is the soft whisper inside your soul that says, I will not betray myself anymore. The universe does not reward hesitation. It rewards alignment. It responds not to your wishes, but to your embodiment. When you become the person your future requires, reality begins to shift. Doors you thought were locked begin to open. Paths you could not see begin to reveal themselves. Opportunities you once chased begin to gravitate toward you. Life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a dance. Not because it gets easier, but because you finally move with truth instead of against it. Understand something profound. The world is not transformed by those who seek comfort. It is transformed by those who seek meaning. Comfort is temporary, but meaning is eternal. Comfort makes you safe, but meaning makes you unstoppable. Comfort keeps you breathing, but meaning makes you feel alive. And make no mistake, choosing meaning will cost you. It will cost your old identity, your false securities, your tolerance for mediocrity. It will force you to confront your limitations, your procrastination, your fear of failure, your fear of success, your fear of being seen, and your fear of not being seen. It will reveal who is truly with you, and who was only with the version of you that played small. But what you receive in return is not simply a new life. It is a new self, a self that is not molded by society, but shaped by awareness, a self that does not chase validation, but radiates authenticity, a self that does not collapse under pressure, but grows through it. You become someone who no longer fears the unknown, because you finally understand the unknown is not darkness, it is possibility. It is not a threat. It is an invitation. The universe hides its greatest gifts behind the veil of uncertainty. Only those willing to step into that uncertainty discover them. There will be days where the path feels endless, days where tiredness sits heavy, where doubt creeps back like a shadow, where the old self whispers, return to comfort. In those moments, remember, growth often feels like discomfort, not because you are breaking, but because you are expanding. Flowers do not bloom by staying seeds. Stars do not shine by staying dust. You cannot evolve while holding on to who you were. The universe has always been speaking to you, not in shouts, but in subtle nudges, synchronicities, intuition, déjà vu, moments where something inside you says, this is right, these are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Signs that your soul recognizes the path, even when your mind doubts it. You must learn to trust that inner knowing. Trust is not blind, it is visionary. It sees what the eyes cannot yet prove. It feels what logic cannot yet justify. And the more you trust, the more the universe reveals. The more you step forward, the more the path unfolds. Never underestimate the power of a single decision made in alignment with your truth. One decision to rise, one decision to let go, one decision to believe in yourself before the world does. That decision becomes a ripple. A ripple becomes momentum. Momentum becomes transformation. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you become the person you once prayed to become. Not because someone saved you, but because you saved yourself through awareness, surrender, courage, and persistence. You are not here to repeat the past. You are here to transcend it. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to awaken. Your birth was not an accident. It was an assignment. And the fact that you feel this fire, this longing, this restlessness, it is proof the universe has chosen you to remember what others have forgotten. There is more. There has always been more. Life is not happening to you. It is responding to you. You are not a passenger. You are a creator. Your reality bends not to your wishes, but to your willingness to evolve. And as your awareness deepens, you realize something powerful. The journey was never about becoming more. It was about remembering you were always enough. And once you see that truth, once you realize you were never incomplete, never lacking, never broken, something inside you settles, not into complacency, but into clarity. You stop chasing identity and start expressing essence. You stop performing life and begin living it. The internal war quiets, not because there is no battle left, but because you have finally stopped fighting yourself. It is a strange kind of liberation. To wake up one morning and recognize that the person you were trying so hard to become was never more powerful than the person you already were. You begin to understand that growth is not about adding more layers, but shedding the ones that never belonged to you. And suddenly, existence becomes lighter. Not easier, but more honest. You start moving through life without needing constant reassurance. You start speaking without worrying who agrees. You start walking without needing a crowd to follow, because for the first time your steps belong to you. You realize the world does not reward those who blend in. It remembers those who dare to stand alone. Not in arrogance, but in authenticity. Not in superiority, but in sovereignty. To stand as yourself is not ego, it is evolution. You learn that the universe does not test you to punish you, it tests you to prepare you. Pressure is not cruelty, it is refinement. Fire does not destroy gold, it reveals it. And life does not break you, it rebuilds you into someone capable of holding the magnitude of your own potential. So you stop fearing difficulty. You stop resenting discomfort. You stop avoiding uncertainty, because now you understand the obstacles were not blocking the path. They were the path. Every doubt strengthened your vision. Every failure sharpened your wisdom. Every loss expanded your capacity to rise. Every ending pushed you into beginnings you didn't know you needed. Life has never been against you. It has been sculpting you. Every moment, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones, shaped you into someone who can carry the truth without collapsing under the weight of illusion. And you begin to see what the mystics knew, what the philosophers hinted at, what your intuition whispered long before your mind could understand. You are not merely in the universe is in you. Consciousness is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Existence is not something you observe, it is something you are. You are never just a body walking through matter. You are awareness navigating possibility. You are the witness, the experiencer, the chooser. Once you know that, you can never go back to sleep. Your fears lose their authority. Your doubts lose their volume. Your limitations lose their foundation. You no longer say, I hope I become. You say, I am becoming, and then I am. The journey shifts from survival to expansion. You stop living to avoid pain and start living to discover depths. You stop chasing happiness like a commodity and begin cultivating meaning like a sacred art. You stop trying to outrun the dark and learn to walk through it without losing your light, because now you know the dark was never your enemy. It was your initiation, the place where your old identity dissolved so your real self could emerge. Transformation always looks like chaos from the inside. Progress always feels like confusion before it feels like clarity, but clarity comes. Strength comes, alignment comes, not all at once, but inevitably, and as you rise, you stop waiting for the world to change and realize the world changes when you do. You stop demanding life become easier and start becoming stronger. You stop hoping for signs and start becoming one. When you embody truth, you don't follow the path, you become the path. Your presence itself becomes a quiet revolution. Your courage becomes permission for others to awaken. Your authenticity becomes an invitation. You no longer inspire by teaching people who to be, you inspire simply by being who you are. That is the highest form of leadership. That is the ultimate revolution. Some will misunderstand you, some will fear your change, some will try to pull you back to who you used to be, because your evolution reminds them of their stagnation. But do not shrink for those who refuse to grow. Compassion does not mean compromise. Love does not mean limitation. You can wish people well without walking backward to meet them. Growth is not abandonment. It is alignment. And aligned souls will rise with you or meet you on the climb. You do not lose people on the path. You discover who was never meant to walk it. And gradually, almost silently, life becomes different. You wake up with direction. You move with purpose. You speak with clarity. You act with intention. You don't just exist. You participate in creation. You don't just think. You perceive. You don't just breathe. You receive. And that is when you finally understand awakening was never about becoming anything new. It was about remembering everything true. You are not here by accident. You are not breathing by coincidence. You are not dreaming without purpose. Your existence is evidence of meaning. Your desire to evolve is proof of destiny. Your journey is not random. It is encoded. You are not a seeker of truth. You are a revealer of it. You are not evolving into power. You are waking up to it. You are not becoming whole. You always were. So take a breath and stand in the fullness of who you are. Stand in the awareness that creation moves through you. Stand in the recognition that you are the miracle you were searching for. Do not wait for the world to grant you permission to rise. Rise because your soul has already decided. Rise because your spirit remembers what your mind forgot. Rise because the universe expands through those who choose to awaken. Your story is not ending, it is beginning, not in comfort, but in consciousness, not in imitation, but in illumination. And when the world asks, "Who are you?" do not answer with a name or a role or a version created for approval. Answer with presence. answer with truth, answer with the silence of someone who has finally returned to themselves. Because the greatest power a human can ever hold is the realization that they were never powerless, not for a moment, not in any lifetime. You are the awakening. You are the becoming. You are the reminder. And now you rise.